The Messi betrayal. The greatest player in football history stands at a press conference table, tears streaming down his face as he attempts to speak. This isn't a retirement ceremony. This isn't a farewell tour. This is Lionel Messi being forced to explain why the only club he'd ever known had just made it impossible for him to stay. 3 months earlier, Barcelona's president had promised the world that Messi would remain a Barcelona player forever. Now, fans watching at home burst into both disbelief and rage as their greatest legend choked on his words. August 8, 2021, the day Barcelona started the loss of their soul on live television. Lionel Messi, the man who had scored 672 goals in 778 appearances, sat at a press conference unable to control his emotions. Not because he wanted to leave, but because the club he loved had made it financially impossible for him to stay. Messi had reportedly agreed to a 50% salary reduction and was willing to accept even deeper cuts. But even that wasn't enough. Barcelona's wage bill was so catastrophically mismanaged that La Liga's salary cap wouldn't permit Messi's registration, regardless of his willingness to play for reduced wages. Joan Laporta's promises proved worthless. When reality hit, Laporta threw his greatest legend under the bus, claiming La Liga's financial regulations made renewal impossible, while the club continued pursuing other expensive signings that same summer. But Messi wasn't their only legend betrayed. The treatment of Xavi Hernandez proved that going back to your toxic ex never really works out for anyone. In January 2024, Xavi announced he would leave Barcelona at the end of the season, describing the job as cruel and unpleasant. The pressure had broken him, but Barcelona couldn't let him go. In April 2024, during what became known as Sushi Night, a dinner at Laporta's house, they convinced Xavi to reverse his decision and stay beyond the current season and into 2024 to 2025. They sold him dreams of rebuilding the club's identity, nurturing La Masia talents, restoring Barcelona to their rightful place among Europe's elite. Reports later revealed that Barcelona had been secretly negotiating with Hansi Flick for 2 months before they even asked Xavi to stay. Just 1 month after the reconciliation dinner, they fired him anyway. The man who embodied Barcelona's playing philosophy for over 2 decades was treated like a disposable employee rather than club royalty. Luis Suarez's departure epitomized the club's tone-deaf communication. After 6 years and 198 goals, Suarez learned of his release through media reports rather than official club channels. The Uruguayan striker, who had formed one of history's greatest attacking partnerships with Messi and Neymar, was discarded via a phone call. No ceremony, no recognition. Barcelona had transformed from a family into a corporation that views legends as expendable assets.
Financial madness.
Barcelona has faced serious financial trouble. By March 2021, they carried a massive €1.35 billion debt, making them the most indebted football club in history. But instead of accepting reality, they chose a risky path. Enter the infamous levers, corporate speak for mortgaging Barcelona's future to fund today's desperate situation. The numbers are shocking. Barcelona sold 25% of their La Liga TV rights for the next 25 years to 6th Street for €667 million total. First 10% for €207.5 million, then another 15% for €400 million. That's a quarter century of broadcast revenue gone, handed to American hedge funds who'll never step foot in Camp Nou. But the fire sale wasn't finished. They sold 49% of Barca licensing and merchandising to a Fanatics-led consortium for €200 million, nearly half their merchandising arm for the next decades. Then came Barca Studios, 49% sold to Socios.com and Orpheus Media for €200 million combined. Digital content, NFTs, Web3 strategy, all carved up and sold to the highest bidder. Season tickets skyrocketed by 36% in some sections, forcing lifelong supporters to choose between Barcelona and their rent. Corporate boxes that housed families for generations now demanded premium payments most couldn't afford. The club that proclaimed "Més que un club" was literally pricing out the community that gave it meaning. Meanwhile, La Liga's financial fair play became a shell game of creative accounting. Deferred payments to suppliers, restructured salary deferrals, and transfer fees spread across multiple years. Every transaction designed to trick regulations rather than build sustainable success. Here's the harsh reality. Barcelona mortgaged their birthright for short-term survival, while Bayern Munich remained profitable throughout the pandemic, and Manchester City's owners invested their own wealth. Barcelona's response? Sell the future to American investment firms. European humiliations. Barcelona's Champions League record since 2016 reads like a psychological thriller where the hero repeatedly destroys themselves. These weren't just defeats, they were systematic collapses that transformed Europe's most feared team into a source of entertainment for neutrals. August 14, 2020. Bayern Munich 8, Barcelona 2. Not a typo, not an aggregate score. One match where Barcelona, the team that once made tiki-taka synonymous with football perfection, were dismantled like amateur opposition. Thomas Müller scored twice. Felipe Coutinho, on loan from Barcelona, scored twice against his parent club. It was Barcelona's heaviest defeat in 69 years. But the Bayern destruction was just the culmination of a pattern that began years earlier. April 10, 2018, Roma 3, Barcelona 0. Having won the first leg 4-1, Barcelona managed to lose 3-0 in Rome, crashing out 4-4 on away goals. The team that had orchestrated the greatest comeback in Champions League history against PSG 1 year earlier had become the victims of an even more stunning reversal. May 7, 2019, Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0 at Anfield. Again, Barcelona had dominated the first leg, winning 3-0 at the Camp Nou with Messi scoring a magnificent free kick. Again, they collapsed spectacularly. Divock Origi and Jorginho Wijnaldum scored twice each as Liverpool completed another impossible comeback. The images of Barcelona players staring blankly at the Anfield turf became symbolic of a club that had lost its mental strength. Under Pep Guardiola and Luis Enrique, Barcelona won the Champions League 4 times in 8 years. Since 2016, they've reached one semi-final. Their European coefficient, once the highest in world football, plummeted as they consistently failed in knockout rounds against teams with half their budget. The tactical identity that made them unique disappeared. The patient passing, the positional interchange, the overwhelming possession, replaced by individual brilliance attempts and tactical confusion. Teams no longer feared playing Barcelona. They genuinely believed they could eliminate them. Corruption investigations. The Negreira affair. In February 2023, Spanish prosecutors revealed that Barcelona had paid over 7.3 million euros to companies owned by José María Enríquez Negreira, the vice president of Spain's Technical Committee of Referees, between 2001 and 2018. Over 7 million euros. To the man responsible for referee assignments and evaluations in Spanish football. Barcelona's explanation? They claimed these payments were for technical advice and referee reports. The club that positioned itself as football's moral compass was paying the referee chief's companies for nearly 2 decades, including periods when they won multiple La Liga titles and Champions League trophies. The situation raised serious questions. How could Barcelona, the club that marketed itself as different from its rivals, justify secret payments to someone with direct influence over referee appointments? Even if these payments were technically legal at the time, the ethical implications damaged their reputation significantly. Real Madrid predictably demanded the titles won during this period be investigated. Other La Liga clubs questioned the integrity of competitions spanning nearly 2 decades. UEFA opened their own investigation, potentially threatening Barcelona's European participation. The investigation coincided with renewed scrutiny of several controversial referee decisions that had benefited Barcelona over the years. The 2009 Champions League semi-final against Chelsea, where multiple penalty appeals were denied. numerous La Liga matches where opponents felt aggrieved by officiating. Suddenly, these incidents were viewed through a different lens. More damaging than any potential punishment was the reputational impact. Barcelona had built their brand on being different from their rivals, and the issues that had historically surrounded Spanish football. Now, they were at the center of the biggest refereeing investigation in Spanish sport history. The club that claimed to represent values and integrity found itself defending payments that, regardless of intent, cast doubt over the fairness of Spanish football during their most successful period.
From La Masia to transfer chaos. Barcelona's academy, La Masia, was once football's greatest talent factory. Xavi, Andreas Iniesta, Carlos Puyol, Gerard Piqué, Sergio Busquets, and Lionel Messi. An entire generation of legends emerged from the same youth system. Other clubs sent delegations to study Barcelona's methods. La Masia represented football's purest form, developing local talent, instilling club values, creating players who understood Barcelona's DNA. That philosophy shifted with corporate pressure. Since Neymar's €222 million departure in 2017, Barcelona has spent over €760 million on transfers, chasing instant solutions rather than patient development. Felipe Coutinho cost €160 million and never fit their system. Antoine Griezmann arrived for €120 million and played out of position. Ousmane Dembele's €148 million transfer was undermined by constant injuries. The contrast was striking. Barcelona, the club that had questioned Real Madrid's Galactico policy, became even more desperate in their pursuit of expensive stars. At least Madrid's signings made tactical sense. Barcelona's approach resembled panic buying, acquiring big names without considering system compatibility. Meanwhile, La Masia graduates were being overlooked. Carlos Aleñá was loaned repeatedly before being sold. Riqui Puig couldn't get consistent opportunities despite technical brilliance. Marc Cucurella left for Brighton and became a Premier League star. The production line that had created Barcelona's golden generation was being sidelined for outside imports. Barcelona's academy, once the envy of world football, became another casualty of short-term thinking. Today, Barcelona fields exceptional La Masia talents like Lamine Yamal, Gavi, Pedri, Alejandro Balde, and Pau Kubasi. But these have become happy accidents rather than systematic products. In 2010, Barcelona fielded 7 academy graduates as the natural result of their philosophy. Today's graduates has to fight for opportunities against expensive signings. The numbers prove it. When Barcelona need reinforcements, they still spend €75 million on Frenkie de Jong, €58 million on Rafinha, €55 million on Ferran Torres. La Masia graduates become starters only when exceptional enough to force their way past these expensive imports, a complete reversal of Barcelona's founding philosophy. Super League hypocrisy. April 18, 2021. Barcelona, the club that had preached about football purity and community values, joined 11 other elite clubs in announcing the European Super League. Joan Laporta wasn't just a participant, he was one of the founding members, alongside Real Madrid's Florentino Perez. The contradiction was striking. This was the same club that claimed to represent Catalan independence, democratic values, and community ownership. Yet they were willing to create a closed competition that would permanently exclude clubs based on commercial value rather than sporting merit. Barcelona's fans reacted with disappointment. The same supporters who had backed the club through decades of political challenges felt let down by leadership that seemed to prioritize financial stability over sporting tradition. Critical voices emerged both online and around the Camp Nou, questioning the decision. The Super League proposal highlighted Barcelona's financial pressures. Facing serious economic difficulties, they appeared willing to compromise on principles that had defined their identity. The "more than a club" motto seemed tested when survival required partnerships with major financial institutions.
When the Super League collapsed within 72 hours due to widespread opposition across Europe, Barcelona found themselves in an awkward position. While most clubs quickly distanced themselves from the project and accepted consequences from UEFA, Barcelona continued exploring the concept alongside Real Madrid and Juventus. They chose legal challenges over immediate reconciliation. The Super League situation revealed the tension between Barcelona's traditional values and modern financial realities. When faced with economic pressure, the club's leadership appeared to prioritize commercial opportunities over community expectations. The club that had inspired generations with their commitment to Catalan identity faced questions about their true priorities in the modern game.
Commercial transformation. While other European giants built sustainable futures, Barcelona crumbled under mounting debts, transforming from football's most prestigious institution into a cautionary tale of financial recklessness. The Camp Nou, inaugurated in 1957, wasn't just Barcelona's stadium, it was a sacred symbol of Catalan identity. For 65 years, it remained untouchable as simply Camp Nou. Then, financial desperation struck, and even the most sacred traditions became negotiable. In March 2022, Barcelona sold what was left of their soul, literally selling naming rights to Spotify for €280 million over 4 years. The historic venue became Spotify Camp Nou, marking the first time this proud club had tarnished their most sacred asset. While the deal included shirt sponsorship, it represented Barcelona's complete abandonment of their principles. Commercial partnerships exploded overnight. New sponsorship categories, digital platforms, and desperate marketing deals transformed Barcelona from a respected football institution into a global entertainment circus, frantically chasing revenue streams to survive their self-inflicted financial catastrophe. Even their successful women's team, despite their 2021 Champions League triumph, became another marketing commodity. Sporting achievements were packaged and sold rather than celebrated for pure athletic excellence. Transfer windows became humiliating administrative nightmares. Barcelona's ability to register new signings depended on salary cap gymnastics and financial restructuring. Fans watched in horror as their club begged existing players to cut wages just to register new arrivals, utterly embarrassing for a supposed elite institution. Barcelona's fall from traditional football royalty to commercial desperation perfectly captures how financial mismanagement can destroy even the mightiest clubs. The institution that once stood for principles now represents everything wrong with modern football's soulless pursuit of money over meaning. Success masking structural problems. In May 2025, Barcelona celebrates an unprecedented domestic treble under Hansi Flick. La Liga, Copa del Rey, and Spanish Super Cup. All won in spectacular fashion, with 102 league goals and victories over Real Madrid in both cup finals. Young talents like Lamine Yamal and Pedri have become world-class, and the team plays the most entertaining football in Europe. Despite this, the celebrations mask a troubling reality. This success is built on the financial equivalent of quicksand. The levers that funded their squad rebuilding have mortgaged decades of future revenue. Every goal scored and trophy lifted carries the knowledge that Barcelona has essentially borrowed from its own future to compete today. Despite the trophies, structural problems persist. Squad registration issues continue each transfer window, with Barcelona still scrambling to comply with La Liga's salary cap regulations. The summer of 2024 sees familiar patterns. Veteran players accepting wage reductions, creative accounting to register new signings, and uncertainty about basic administrative functions. Court battles remain ongoing as Barcelona continues disputing financial fair play regulations, salary cap calculations, and the Negreira investigation. Rather than focusing purely on football, significant energy is still consumed by legal challenges across multiple fronts. Success on the pitch cannot erase the institutional uncertainty off it. The psychological impact creates contradictions. Players are winning everything domestically, while their club's long-term stability remains questionable. Contract negotiations still involve creative accounting rather than straightforward sporting negotiations. Agents continue questioning Barcelona's financial sustainability, despite the trophy success. Most concerning is the realization that this peak performance might be unsustainable. Without addressing the underlying financial structure, how long can Barcelona maintain this level against clubs with stable ownership and unlimited resources? The domestic treble feels like a brilliant performance built on unstable foundations. The gap between sporting success and institutional health has never been wider. Barcelona are simultaneously the best team in Spain and a club still struggling with the basic requirements of modern football administration.